We're here today at VAO. I'm here with Kieran and Helen from Merck. We're really excited to see what's going to happen inside. Helen, do you want to give us a quick little overview of who VAO are?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Matthias. VAO are a startup, an emerging startup in the cultured meat field. So we're really excited to be here today to meet co-founder George Pepu. We've been supporting, so Merck has been supporting VAO with some of the R&D and some of the pilot scale-up work that they've been doing in terms of growing up the cultured meat.
Fantastic. Sounds really interesting. Let's go inside and have a look.
Sure, let's do it.
George, thanks so much for making the time to have us here at VAO.
My pleasure.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about what you guys actually do?
So we make cultured meat, and cultured meat is a technology where you take the cells that are normally found in meat and grow them up in an environment outside of the animal. So you end up with something which is very, very close in biology, but grown inside large stainless steel tanks using electricity, so it has a much smaller physical footprint, takes up much less land and a much smaller environmental footprint. We use this technology to engineer entirely new types of food from the ground up that are tastier, more nutritious and more functional than meat from animals. So it's our goal that in the future you'll purchase meat based on brands and you'll have familiarity with the experience of eating those brands and why you choose them, not based on the animals that they come from. We have already built up the world's largest cell library. We have more than 15 different species and more than 400 cell lines in-house, and our goal is to continue to expand that and characterize all of these different species and cell lines across that cell library based on what they bring to different foods.
It's very interesting. Now, with the process, I'm sure a lot of our viewers, a lot of our members haven't really paid a lot of attention to the cultured meat space. Can you run them through the process of how that actually works?
Absolutely. So we start off with a biopsy from an animal, which is a piece of muscle tissue, usually about the size of an almond. We take that, we then have a series of steps that we've developed ourselves that allow us to separate out different cells and then effectively search through tens of thousands or millions of cells to find those that have the ability to grow fast and for a long time. We can then store those as long as we want. And when we're ready to produce them, we take out a little vial of cells from the freezer and thaw it and place them into some nutritional media. That nutritional media has everything those cells need to grow: sugars, salts, amino acids, and molecules that tell those cells it's time to grow into lots more of themselves. We place those in large bits of equipment known as bioreactors or cultivators, where those cells multiply and multiply and multiply. We're then able to harvest those cells out of the cultivator and turn those into the finished food products that will land on your plate.
We're here today thanks to Merck, our member. Can you run us through a bit of the process working with them and what they've been involved in?
Yeah, absolutely. So Merck have been a supplier for us since relatively early on. When we were 3 people working out of a shoe cupboard lab, which was borrowed off a friend for free in the evenings and weekends. Merck was one of the very first suppliers that we've worked with. We've increased our scale pretty dramatically, as you can see from the fact we're in our own building now with a team of 50 people. And so we buy a lot of the individual components of that growth media from Merck, as well as a range of other suppliers. We buy plenty of bits of equipment from them as well, but they've been a consistent supplier both at the lab scale and now some parts of the larger scale manufacturing. We're likely to continue to work with them, at least in the first generation products.
Fantastic.
So George, how is science helping to address the challenges of a growing world population?
Great question. The way we grow our foods, while it has become much more sophisticated, the paradigm of growing green plants in the ground or rearing animals and slaughtering them for meat has really not changed that much over the last 10,000 years. What we've seen over the last decade or so are several companies that are employing biology directly as a way of making molecules that would otherwise require intensive animal agriculture or large-scale farming.
That's pretty awesome. I mean, there's some amazing food innovations taking place, and I guess it's all really also helping to reduce that environmental footprint out there, which, you know, Merck, we're very passionate about sustainability, and so I think the work that Val is doing in the cultured meat space really aligns well to our drive to really have that reduced environmental footprint as well. So you guys are doing a great job.
Thank you, and thank you for all the support.